Welcome aboard the Knitty Stew podcast. My name is Leanne. I am the Knitty Stew. Stew is short for stewardess. I'm a Canadian flight attendant and a knitter, and this is my YouTube channel where I try to bring you on the road with me, show you footage of beautiful Canadian cities and cities abroad that I get the privilege of staying in as part of my job. I try to include scenes of local yarn shops whenever I can, and always, there's lots of knitting content on this channel. So welcome. This is episode 45. If you are new here, thank you for popping in for a visit. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I absolutely treasure this community so very much. It is the third week of November already. I can't even believe it. We're having a very prolonged fall here in my home city of Calgary, Alberta, and I'm loving it. Actually, I did get a warning on the weather app today that there's freezing rain warning, but currently it's 3 degrees, which is 37 degrees Fahrenheit if you're one of my American viewers. So it's perfect fall weather in my opinion. I'm not really too excited about the snowfall, which causes a lot of interruptions in travel, so it can be a stressful time of season, the winter operations. But today I am here in a new location. It's not a hotel room. I'm actually on the main floor, aka living room of the condo slash townhouse that we recently moved to here in Calgary. So I stayed within the city of my home base, but we moved to the south end of town. And here I am today. I thought I'd take this opportunity to podcast because we're living currently with my son and his girlfriend and my husband. There's 4 of us living here, and the house is all mine today. And it is cozy and quiet. Well, other than I am facing a fairly busy road, so hopefully my directional mic will keep the ambient sound back. But I have a lot to share with you guys today, so I invite you to grab a project and cozy up. I'm having a creamy vanilla tea today, so it's feeling pretty fall-y. This has got the fish girl fall vibes. I got this mug in Whitehorse when I was up there in 2024. I don't remember the maker's name, but I'll link that in the Instagram or her Instagram account below. And before I forget all of those things, I need to say a huge thank you to everyone who commented, encouraged me, sent love and compassion on my last episode. 2025 has proved to be a very character building year, we'll put it that way. And I went into it in some detail at the end of my last episode, and you all really showed me that I'm not alone. Lots of hard decisions have had to be made this year, including rehoming our cats, where to move, and how to go forward. We were discussing my father-in-law, who is in an aged care facility with some early onset dementia happening, and of course he's grieving with the loss of my mother-in-law and my perimenopause and all of these things. I just kind of blabbed it all out on my last episode, and you guys came at me with wind beneath my wings, we'll just say. I won't get into any of that this episode today because I have so many knitting things to talk about, and I don't want this to be like a 2-hour video, but I can also just give you a quick update saying we are getting settled here. A little bit more artwork still to go, and I'm going to put up the Christmas tree in the next couple of days. My father-in-law, we've sort of decided that at this time it wouldn't be a good idea for him to live with us, and we are living with my son and his girlfriend. So he has been actually given a place at a new facility in another area of the city where he's more familiar with, the northwest end of town, and he's so excited. And so that move for him may be the right move. So I have to trust all of these things, and that's so that'll be coming up before the end of the year probably. So anyways, without further ado, just to let you know, if you want to connect with me, I am on Ravelry as the Knitty Stew. I also have an Instagram called the Knitty Stew, and I post on there quite frequently. And if you want to email me, I am thenittystew@gmail.com. So thanks everyone for being here. let's get started. I have 7 finished objects, 1 garment and 6 small items. I have 2 works in progress and 3 imminent cast-ons. I also have some very pretty acquisitions / gifts to show you if we don't run out of time or if it doesn't feel like the video is getting too long. And at the very end of the video, I do have some lovely footage that I'd like to insert. I had a beautiful layover at the beginning of November, and I was out in Comox, which is on Vancouver Island, the Hawaii of Canada, I like to call it. And I contacted my friend Christine, who has Woolen Waves yarn out there, and she was very busy working away. So I just wandered along the estuary, and I'm going to insert that footage because the day was glorious. It was quintessential fall. There was seals in the water, the foliage was gorgeous, and it was so moody, and I just absolutely I just loved it. And I filmed like so many leaves. There were leaves out there that were bigger than my head. I couldn't believe it. And so I'm going to put that in. And if you're curious about Comox or that area of Canada, I will also link a video, episode 16, when I was out there in 2023, when my layovers looked different and I had longer time. I have a lot more information in that video, so I'll put a little link to it up here or in the description box if you'd like to look further. Okay, so let's start talking about the knitting. First finished object I am wearing right now. So excited. This is Laura Pullover, a free pattern from Lamb & Kid. And I think I may have found my new favorite garment of all time. Let me back up and show you what has been achieved here. Okay. I just giggle because it's so good. Okay, I'll turn it around. Obsessed. Obsessed. I just finished blocking this last night and I could not be happier. First of all, the color. Could we discuss that I want this to be my entire personality? This green is, even my husband was like, "Oh, that's a nice green, isn't it?" It's called Wanderlust. I'll talk a little bit about the yarn, then I'll talk about the size and the pattern. And it's ridiculous that I started this in August and it took me until now to finish it. There are just a few things caught my eye in between, but wow. I wish this would have been earlier, but I'm going to be able to wear it, I think, year round. First about the yarn. This is Sonder yarn, fleece and flax, which is a fingering weight yarn, 75% blue face Leicester and 25% linen, which gives it such a great texture, and I just wanted the color to shine. So I was looking for a simple, stockinette, top-down raglan sweater, and the viewer April Sokolowski 3995, you commented that I might really like this pattern. 100% correct. It was everything I was looking for. What I started out with was a lot of gauge swatching. So I had 3 skeins of the Sonder yarn, fleece and flax, and look at how much I've got left still. This is the 3rd ball. Now it comes in 100-gram balls, and the yardage, like it's a full-on fingering weight yarn. Yes, so 100 grams, 432 yards, or 395 meters per ball. And I started out with doing a US 5 gauge swatch. That's a 3.75 millimeter. And I cast on in the round to see what I thought of the fabric, which I loved it. And I ended up with a gauge of 24 stitches by 34 after washing and blocking, and I hung it to dry. Okay, so that's almost a cowl size swatch, but I was like, oh, I really like the way that looks. But what would it look like on a 4 millimeter? So I grabbed my US 6 4 millimeter needle and I cast on 100 stitches in the round again. Like, who is this gauge swatch girl? But it was such a pleasure that I wanted to knit something significantly long and then let it hang to see what gravity would do to it. Beautiful fabric, okay? And I ended up with a gauge of 22 stitches over 32 rounds after washing and blocking. And then what I ended up going with, believe it or not, on a fingering weight yarn, a US 7. And it is a 4.5 millimeter needle. I got 20 stitches over 32 rounds. And this was the fabric that I liked the most. And that is what I used for this. Now I can't believe I'm using a fingering weight single and getting 20 stitches and 32 rounds. Like, that blows my mind. So this yarn just fills the space, and I'm not wearing anything underneath it, right? I mean, look at that. So I love the drape, I love the fit, and that's that about the yarn. I did speak about it a little bit in my last episode, and I think people were confused, like, you're using fingering weight and getting 20 stitches? Yes, I am. Caveat, I am a loose knitter, but I feel that this yarn has such range. It's just incredible. I love it so much. The pattern, exactly what I was looking for. I cast it on this funnel collar type thing. It's a free pattern, I mentioned that, and it comes in 7 sizes, I believe. Let me just double check here. Yeah, the range is, for a finished chest circumference, 35.5 inches up to 64. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sizes. Amazing for a free pattern. It's this pattern has been with me throughout. It's got a schematic. The things that I changed about it, I didn't do make one right and lefts. I noted that. I just did knit one front and back. It's got some short rows in the back after you do the funnel collar. You just work down, stocking knit, knit. The thing that I held off on was the sleeve length, because I wasn't sure how I wanted the sleeves to look. And I gotta say, I'm really proud that I started to do one, and I got all the way to about just past the elbow. And I decreased slower than the pattern. So I didn't just start decreasing right away. I kind of left it, I think I kept about 64 stitches. And I used a US 7 4.5 millimeter throughout, except for the collar. That is a lie. I cast the collar on with a US 7 4.5. The only thing I used a US 6 4 millimeter needle for was the cuffs. I went down and did matching knit 3 purl 1 for the cuffs. And I like the length of the body. I like how it sits. Anyway, I could go on and on about it. Didn't do any other special things. Again, I just kept it real simple. I bound off and knit stitch. I cast on, which is a regular long tail cast on. And for the body ribbing, I also just cast off and knit stitch. Not too tight. So I made size 4. My gauge ended up being what it was when I did my first original gauge swatch, which was 20 stitches. The pattern calls for 18. So I probably should have gone up a size, but I stayed at, the numbers were about this, like very similar for size 3 and size 4. And I think I have about, let's see how much positive ease. Not that much. Like, I like the way it clings here. Feels very flattering. So I probably have about maybe an inch on each side. So my my full bust circumference is 36.5 inches. And I probably have about 38, 39 at the end of the day. So it is quite warm. I'm actually feeling a little sweaty right now. But that is my first finished object. That one is probably the longest I'm going to talk about, and the rest of the items are quite small and quite quick to talk about, so let's get on to those ones. My second finished object is not with me now. I have gifted it. I showed it just in the very early beginnings of it, I think in my last episode. It's called Colorwork Witch, which was a gift for my dear friend Erin for her birthday, which was October 19th, and it's a pattern by Amy Munson. I'll insert a photo or video or some sort of footage of Wilhelmina. This is what we named her. She was very, very sweet, and Erin went bananas when I visited her and gave it to her for her birthday. She was shocked that I got it done. I am too, actually, because it was a little bit fiddly. I had to start with a US 1, and I used double pointed needles. It's a paid pattern, so I can't give too much away, but I can explain its construction, which you knit the base and then you work up the body of the witch, and did some color work, which I switched over to a 9-inch circular for the color work, which I find is the best way for me to work color work in the small circumference. And then I switched to magic loop for the shaping of the head, and before I stuffed it, I find magic loops good for that kind of thing. I put some rice in the bottom to stuff it, or to weight it down, and then added some polyfill and finished it off with some accessories. It does have a hat, and I knitted that and most of this witch in drops alpaca mix, so I'll show you what I used. I don't have a color, well, I might be able to figure it out here. So yeah, I used drops alpaca mix in these two colors. And what else did I use? I used some just tiny bits of old stash for the orange in the pumpkins, and then I added a broom at the very end. I might be missing some other colors, but you don't need much at all. Oh yeah, I'm missing the black, which is, here it is, one sec. There, that's what I used for the majority of it, actually. Drops alpaca mix that I had in my stash. The fiddly part is worth it for the cute factor, I can say that. And I struggled a little bit with the hair, which is, I've never done hair as like you kind of do like a figure 8 and attach it. And then the hat is what keeps it down and keeps it in place. So the pattern by Amy Munson, I'm not sure if I mentioned the designer, but really sweet. And I think Erin's going to treasure that with some of the other things I've made her throughout the years. The thing that I didn't do is the scarf. I actually knit 2 scarves for this thing, and I just didn't like the way they looked. So I just stuck with the cape and kind of knitted a bit longer around the top part and pushed it up a little bit. It does say to join in the round for that, which I did, but then at the end I was like, I should have just knitted it all flat and then just seamed it at the end, which would have been faster and less fiddly. So that's finished object number 2. Wilhelmina, but the pattern itself has different witches, so it's called Colorwork Witch by Amy Munson. Next up, I have a finished pair of socks that I test knit for Nancy Wheeler of Knit Sip Happy podcast. She put out a pattern recently called Wild Geese DK socks, and I got to test knit them along with some really great test knitters who put out some beautiful versions. These are my version of this toe-up DK sock, which, as expected, was delightful, engaging, and DK weight, so it was super duper fast. I knit these in 6 days, 7 days, something like that. And I really love them. They are so cozy, and I kind of went rogue on my yarn pairing for these. So I was trying to be creative. So the pattern gauge is 23 stitches on a US 2.5, also known as a 3mm needle. I went ahead and didn't have DK yarn for socks in my stash, so I used kind of a random thing. I used Einband, which is 100% Norwegian, or is it Icelandic? 100% Icelandic wool singles. Very rustic. And I paired it with the softest cloud ever, which is Surrey Alpaca Silk by hand-dyed yarn Surrey lace, Bramble Ridge in the mist colorway. I held those two together and I got this. To get that 23 stitch gauge, I did go up to a US 3.25mm needle, and I made the smallest size. I only used 196 yards of the Einband, and then I ended up with using 183, so I still have quite a bit left of this fluffy, cloudy goodness. I got this at Knit City in 2023, 2024. So I'm glad I used those two things together. They're more of a house sock for sure. I mean, I think the silk and Einband, if it's knit dense enough, would probably, help it to hold its integrity and not wear through. But I wore them around the house, and now that I've shown them, I will probably keep them as my house socks, my bed socks. As if I didn't mention it, the pattern is written and charted with video tutorial links to all of the things that Nancy asks for in the pattern. If you are a toe-up resistor, and I have to laugh because Nancy calls me the founder of the toe-up squad, I'm just a big fan of her formula, which begins with a rounded toe. And I think people resist doing toe-up socks because of the cast on. It's often started with the Judy's Magic cast on or a Turkish cast on, which some people find is a little freaky. So for me, I actually watch a video from the Skimmer socks. It's on YouTube. I'll link it below. 5.5 minutes into that video, she demonstrates how to do Judy's Magic cast on, and it works beautifully. I don't get any holes or gaps. I feel like it works perfectly every time. This is what it looks like flat. And the name Wild Geese, because of the V's, that's where that came from. And Nancy donated the proceeds of this pattern for the first, I think, 10 days to a veterans association in Canada that supports veterans. So amazing. It's only a $5 Canadian pattern, pennies a glass. The other thing about toe-up socks for a lot of people is the heel and the fit of that. So if I haven't flogged this to death, Nancy has a formula. You measure the length of your foot, and then you take your row gauge, and you plug it into, do some very simple math into her formula, and she explains when to begin these gusset increases. And then you start with a regular German short row heel, and this heel hugging slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And when you finish, no holes, work your way up. It's got a little pearl texture on the back of the leg that goes all the way around. And then for a cast off, Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off works. They fit. I love it. And it was so fast. So if you're looking for a gift knit, or you just want to dip your toe in the toe-up sock instead of cuff down, definitely give it a try. It's it's a low investment to see if it might be your jam. You might not know yet. So I think that's all I wanted to say about the Wild Geese DK toe-up sock pattern, and that's that. Before I show my next finished object, I realize I better tell everyone that if you're looking for information and details, because I'm forgetting a lot of things, please go to the description below and click through to my Ravelry page where I'll have my projects and the details on Ravelry, because I'm forgetting all kinds of stuff, colorways, needle sizes, little details. I'm doing my best. But yeah, if you're looking for extra information, either send me a message below and I'll reply, or just go check out my Ravelry page. Thank you. Next up is my 5th fingering weight 2x2 ribbed beanie, which has become my comfort knit of 2025. This is number 5, and I love this so much. I will keep making these until I don't want to make them anymore. But this pattern, I know I confused a lot of people, saying that I used a free pattern by Emily Bolduan called Ribbed Beanie. You click on that, and then you're like, what? It's a DK. And I'm making this with fingering weight yarn. The stitch count's not the same. I'm so sorry. Let me explain. My very first 2x2 ribbed beanie, I used a pattern that's paid called Red Wing, I think by Megan Babin. So I couldn't give away the cast on number of stitches. And what I ended up doing is not using the decreases from that paid pattern, but using the decreases from Emily Bolduan's pattern, which works for the stitch count that I use for my fingering weight hats. So I have the recipe on all of my project pages around these 2x2 beanies. This one in particular is one of my favorites. I'm going to post a picture here of my husband modeling it for me. I put it on Instagram, and Casey of Young Folk Knits said that that was a fisherman core picture. And I looked at it, and when she said that, I'm like, yes, my Dave looks like a fisherman in this particular hat. It fits an adult head definitely between, I'd say, 19 inches circumference up to 23, using this 2x2 situation. So this one is Biche Bouche Le Petit Lambswool in dark gold colorway. I just love it. It looks really good in this light. It might be a bit darker. Maybe I'll go to this side. Yeah. Again, these bring a lot of comfort. What I do is I cast on 132 stitches with a German twisted cast on, using a larger needle than I do for the rest of the hat. So just for the cast on only, I use a US 3 3.25 millimeter circular needle. Then I work 2x2, knit 2, purl 2 for 9 inches-ish, about 9 inches. And then for the decreases, I use Emily Boldewan's setups, which you basically separate these beautiful decreases by stitch markers. And it separates out 6 times. And then on each side of the stitch marker, I knit 2 together, work the knits and the purls, get to the next stitch marker, and then I decrease after each single stitch marker, down to 18 stitches. Then I cinch it up, and boom, Robert's your mother's brother. Keep making these. The most I've ever used of a fingering weight skein, I think, was maybe 201 yards. But generally, like this one in particular, I only used 189 yards, and that's 35 grams. So if you've got those sock yarn waiting in your stash, maybe this would be it instead of a sock. Anyways, so that is my next finished object, rib beanie number 2. Or number 5, not 2. Finished object number 5, I wasn't even going to show because I feel a little sheepish of what I did. I mentioned that I was going to be test knitting the Kintra hot water bottle pattern for Rebecca Clow, and I was craving buttery soft Malabrigo. This Kintra pattern is a 1x1 color work, and I did get the test knit, and in it it said you can use any combination up to 24 colors, or even without color work. And I did it without color work. So here is my quote-unquote test knit for Rebecca Clow, the Kintra hot water bottle pattern, in a solid color. So Rebecca will probably never let me test again, but I was just needing Malabrigo. If you know me, or if you've been here before, you know that when I'm craving comfort, there's nothing like Malabrigo worsted. This colorway is called Bijou Blue. It's number 608, and I used 157 yards. The gauge I got was perfect. The gauge for the pattern is 20 stitches in stockinette with a US 6 4mm needle, and it fits perfectly. So I was able to verify the measurements and the cast on, which it's a bottom-up construction, again using the Judy's Magic cast on for a delightful finish. Fits like a sweater, so soft. And you just work your way up, and I'll put in a picture of some of the test knitters' pictures. I'm sure that's probably okay with Rebecca, as this pattern is going to be one of her donation patterns that she raises funds for the Fistula Foundation every year. And I will make another one, and I will use the DK weight yarn and some sort of color work project, but I just wasn't feeling it. So I even went so far, in the pattern she has a chart you can color your own combinations of offset 1x1, and then after all of that I just ended up just doing a solid color. Yeah, so how you get it in there, if you're like me and be like, how do I do this? You actually fold it in half, the hot water bottle, and then once it's inside, you fill it up. So if it's a 2-liter hot water bottle perfectly, And I think it's going to be the early December, maybe December 2nd when it's released, or maybe that's when the test knit is finished. But yeah, so that's my fifth finished object, the Kintra hot water bottle pattern. Next I have the second version of the Sisterhood Cowl by Briana, Arlene. I'm not really sure if I'm saying her last name correctly. This was a gift knit, and the colors were chosen by the recipient, whose birthday it was on November 13th. I was done in time, and I took it over to her, but I will show you what I still have to do still. So this is the finished cowl. It is a bottom-up construction. I made one for the Fernie Brayburn Friends getaway that I got to go to this year. We had a friends group knit, and we all finished it, and I showed that in my last episode, and I wore it all weekend long. And this one, my yarn choices, the colors were chosen by the recipient. However, I think I chose way too thin a yarn for the contrast. The first one I used Durham Natura Ulisse and Spin Cycle, which is what the pattern calls for. It's knit with a US 5 3.75 millimeter needle, and this time I went with, again, Durham Natura Ulisse in the Fusain colorway, which is like a charcoal, dark black gray. And then I tried using Zauberball Crazy, which is so moody and perfect. My friend loved those colors. This one is, what color is this? So Zauberball Crazy, color Hinter Grudische. No, we're not going to attempt to say that. We're just going to go and put it on the screen. How about that? Anyways, definitely made for sock. Way too light of a fingering weight yarn. I could get away with it with the Spin Cycle, which is supposedly a sport weight, but it's a light sport weight. And then the Durham Natura is definitely a sport weight yarn. But these two together, oh, it was not nearly as addictive as the first one I made. But I think it turned out quite nice. Maybe I'll put some footage of me trying it on and wearing it, or a picture of it, just so you can see. I really enjoy a bandana style cowl, and the recipient, my friend, she has a motorbike, and so she was looking for, the type of bandana that covers your nose and your mouth and your neck when you're riding your bike. And I did my usual seaming only halfway. So when I took it over to her and we tried it on, I was like, oh, you know what? I might actually have to get a needle. And so I said, I'll take it home, I'll finish it, and I'll seam it all the way so that it goes up all the way and stays, rather than just droops down on the shoulders like how I prefer to wear it. So again, I recommend this pattern if you're into trying mosaic color work, which is what this is. You just have to pay attention. The pattern is charted and written. I went row by row and checked them off. It has a beautiful I-cord edging all the way. And then at the top you do a 2-color I-cord edging, which is, again, the contrast between these two is quite negligible. But it's a very pretty, very lightweight accessory. Let me just tell you how much I got. I only used 0.68 skeins of the Durham Natura, so 137 yards. And then for the Zauberball Crazy, 0.27 skeins, so 124 yards. I think next time I will definitely just use the Zauberball Crazy for socks. My last finished object is probably, next to this, my favorite finished object of the year. And it's my finished Underwing Mitts by Erica Heusser, which I converted to be monarchs in honor of my mother-in-law, who passed away on July 14th. And these are my finished Underwing Mitts, or Monarch Mitts. Can you see the beautiful color work and not the fact that they're two very different sizes? anyways, I am, regardless of the flaws I'm about to point out to you, these are stunning. I'm very happy with this, and I learned, as always, I learned a lot from doing this project. So the mitten itself is based on an underwing moth, which only has colorwork on the bottom part of its wing. I wanted it to look like a monarch butterfly, and so I used some Jamieson and Smith FC. I was going to memorize this, but I didn't. It is FC 38 mix, and did duplicate stitch inside and on the top. And then on this right mitt, I showed these on my last episode. Oh, it's getting kind of dark in here. I hope you can see, and this is not, okay. That I used a little bit of Biramu white to try and make the white dots on a monarch. And one of you guys suggested I use embroidery floss instead to make it thinner, because maybe that's what I was struggling with. And for the right mitten, which I wasn't finished, I was only, I think about this far up in my last episode, I actually just left some of them unduplicate stitched. And I quite like that, actually. I think that looks a little bit better than the large white dots. So yeah, they are knit with Jamieson and Smith Heritage Naturals. I use natural black and for the main color, and then for the background this is light gray. I use 62 yards of the light gray, and I used 86 yards of the natural black. And I was tempted to make, like I do have one more ball of the natural black, to start over and do the left mitten again, which I knit on way too tight of a gauge. The gauge in the pattern is 34 stitches over 4 inches, and I was getting 40 stitches, perhaps because the color changes are so close together, and I was using a 9-inch circular US 1 2.25 millimeter needle, but my gauge was too tight. And so for this one, I used my Addy Rocket circular needle, which is a 10-inch circular. And even though it's listed as a US 1, it's actually a US 1.5 in my gauge needle, my needle gauge. So I was actually getting the correct gauge on my right mitt. So it fits way better. The thumb, the gusset there is just very comfortable. I just blocked the heck out of this one to make it fit. But this one is, I think it's how it was intended to fit. So I was tempted, because I do have enough, I could make a new left mitten, but I would definitely make more of Erica Heusser's patterns, because look at that. It's so intricate. I caught my floats in this area because they were quite long, and I figured putting my fingers in and out, it would get caught in there, or possibly get caught. And then just followed the pattern, the front and the back. So I did it at first, I was trying to do magic loop, but then I figured out instead, just using that Addy Rocket, I just separated the front panel stitches on the front chart, and then the back panel with just a stitch marker, and then just worked the charts in the round with a small circumference needle. So I'm very thrilled with these. It's like a work of art. Very proud. And if the fit of this left one would have been just a bit better, because it's quite a bit, like, one of the first knitted projects I made was a pair of mittens for my sister Wendy, who taught me to knit. And I'm pretty sure they had, one of them was like a normal rounded mitten, and the other one was a lot longer and pointy. So, full circle. But anyways, that's it for these. These are the Underwing Mitts by Erica Heusser, and that's my last finished object. The sun is going down already. I might have to just adjust the lighting and then get on to the next stuff before I lose the light. Be right back. Okay, now I'll just whip through my whips here before I lose the light. Next up should be a pretty quick chat. Surprise! It's another 2x2 fingering weight beanie. This is number 6. And this is deep old stash, I believe, from like 2021. It's Cascade 220 fingering weight yarn in the colorway 1021. I'm only a couple inches in, so I probably have a good 7 to go before it's time for decreasing. And I've just kept that with me for mindless knits for when I'm winding down at the end of the day, or if it's a quick, I just throw these in my purse or even in my lunch kit for work, and I have it always by my side. So that's fingering weight beanie number 6. My next work in progress has a little bit more of a dramatic story to it. I started working on my daughter's Christmas present, which is the Sophie hood that she had requested. And you guys, I lost a yarn chicken. Let me just show you how, oh, this is quite large. Okay, so the Sophie hood by PetiteKnit, I'm using Drops Air, and I had 3 balls of it, which I saw a lot of the projects that were made with this. I thought I would be in good shape. However, no, let me just show you what I've got left here. This is it. And let me show you how much I've got left to go. That much. So I've got a good foot and a bit, even though I'm decreasing, to go. And I ran out of yarn. 3 balls of Drops Air was not enough. Yeah, so it was looking really cute. This is the back edge of the hood part. I'll try on the whip in progress, which I think will look so cute on my daughter. All right, I didn't mind knitting this at all. I actually quite enjoyed it. Just keeping track of the right and the wrong sides, increasing. It's, the Sophie series. Most of you have heard of it, I'm sure. But this one would be really practical because it's got the scarf and the hood. And she had requested this color specifically. It's number 3, Pearl Gray. But I ran out of yarn, and I ordered this yarn in April, Wool Warehouse. So I sent them an email, and they're great customer service, actually. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't have that dye lot, which is 373266, by the way. And I ordered another ball. So close to being finished, but there's no way. I was dreaming that I would have enough. And I have this much more to go. So, A Tale of Woe. I'm knitting it on a US 7 4.5 millimeter needle. Sort of getting gauge, but kind of not really. I think gauge on the pattern is supposed to be 17 stitches in garter. And my usual loose gauge, I was getting 16 stitches. So maybe that plays a part in me running out of yarn. But anyway, it's still the 3rd week in November. So I have hope that it will be here soon, and that it will, because it is a commercial yarn, the Drops Air, that it maybe won't show or be too noticeable. But anyways, that should be here in the next few days. And then, yeah, I'll finish this off and it'll be a finished object in my next video. So that's it for my finished objects and my whips. Next up, maybe I'll just show you some imminent cast-ons, things that I want to make next. And I really would love to show you a few of the pretty things that I have, but I'm not sure how long this video is getting, so I'm just going to have a quick look and yeah, be one sec. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you my next up objects. I mentioned in my last video that I'd picked out a pattern to knit socks for my friend Erin for Christmas. The Solstice socks, a pattern by Carlie Perrins, and I got yarn for them, and I'm going to cast on ASAP. I picked out 2 colors from Polka Dot Creek yarn. One is called Black Coffee, which I had a mini skein of, and I dig it a lot. It's such a dark, deep brown, chocolatey color. And then for the contrast, I have a mini called Oatmeal. Whoops, Oatmeal. So they are a toe-up sock construction, and I think Erin has a size women's 8. So I'll probably make a 64 stitch sock, and I need to get on those soon. So that's up next. Then I had also mentioned that I really want to make a Christmas sweater, and my friend Leslie of YYC Knits has already cast hers on. And what I'm talking about is the Christmas Belle by Isabell Kraemer. I should put a picture up here, but I also have the printed out copy. So we'll go old school and I'll do that. It's just so stunning. I love it. Leslie already started hers, and she's using like a blue teal with a bit of black gradient for the colorwork part, and it's looking so good. The gauge is 24 stitches, and I get that on the Biche Bouche Le Petit Lamb's wool, and I also get 24 stitches with Emily and Philomene, which I have. But then I saw this. So this is looking really, back here a bit. I've got Ralma Finnegarn, and this used to be bright green Ralma, but I dyed it with Rit dye. And I ripped out, if you remember this, what was that called? It had all the arrows on it. I forget the name. But it was a circular yoke that just went way too low, went way too wide, and I never wore it. So I frogged it, reclaimed the Ralma Finnegarn, and then I over-dyed it. And now it's this dark, beautiful green. And then I have some other Ralma that I got at the Knitting Loft. So I thought maybe how Christmassy would this Christmas Belle be? But my gauge on this is actually 22 stitches. So I would just have to do a little bit of math. I would have to go down a size and just try it on as I go. So anyways, that's coming up next. Yeah, it's just choosing yarn. That's a fun problem to have. And finally, I need another shift. I decided I need another shift cowl. I do have some precious loft left. I think I have a brand. So this is some Artifact Loft Brooklyn Tweed. And for my contrast colors, I do also have some Loft that I got in a mill ends. So this is supposed to be wood smoke, but it wasn't quite what they were going for, so they sold it at a really deep discount, and I'm so glad I snagged that up. I have a lot of it. So those two. And then as the other color, again, we've got Rama here, and that's brown color 4081. So I think it's time for another shift. All right. I mean, I have lots of other dreaming plans, but these are the imminent cast-ons that I have up next. For Christmas, I think I'm not going to pressure any of that. If I have some socks that I've got in my gift box, and a lot of hats and such. So if anybody requests anything last minute, or if I need anything like that, I'll dig into my gift box. And yeah, so that's that for now. Please tell me in the comments if you want to let me know what you're knitting on, if you have plans for December, if you're gift knitting still, or if you're just relaxing and not putting any pressure on yourself. And that's always interesting to me, and my queue grows when you do that. Finally, before I sign off, I do want to show and say thank you for some beautiful things that have come my way recently. I was gifted some incredible, generous stuff from Anina Jutti. She is Anna Jutti Knits. She's from Finland. She had sent some stuff before the Canada Post strike, and she gave me a heads up and said, check your mailbox. I sent you something. And now I was blown away. Look at this. She sent me some Finnish wool that is gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. Now the light right now, think moodier. Maybe, here, how about that? Just beautiful. How generous is that? Thank you so much, Anina. This is Vauna. I definitely will not attempt to speak Finnish right now. That would be bad. And then this is Rauni Single. So 100% Finn sheep wool. This one here is from Anina's aunt's farm when she used to have a mill, I think is what she'd said. She wrote me a nice letter of encouragement. And if it could get any huggier than that, look at these. She knit me socks. Now they're wrinkly because I've been wearing the heck out of them. Would you look at that? She absolutely nailed my fit. And she has this really cool garter stitch heel flap, which hugged my foot so nicely. And it looks like a star toe. So thank you, Anina. If she obviously thinks I'm knitworthy. And then this cute little alpaca stitch marker. So, Anina, not only are you a talented designer, you're extremely generous human being. So thank you so much for that. I can't wait. What should I make with these? Now that I've shown them, I could wind them up and figure out what I should make, because glorious. It's like fall. There was a communication back in the spring from, her name is Barbaro. Her and what she called herself is the 4 ladies from Sweden that were coming to Canada, and they were going to the East Coast. So I messaged Anne of 3 a.m. Knitter, and she got together with these ladies and showed them around. And apparently they had the most beautiful time. And somehow I ended up with a gift from them that Anne sent out to me. So I got these 2 balls of deep green. They know me. Look at this. Blenda Gotland from Yarnwick. Gorgeous. So Anne generously shipped those out to me. And hello to the 4 ladies, because I think that's amazing that you explored Canada. And yeah, somehow I got the gift out of that. And then also, I think Anne sent this just in her package. Anne has a 3 a.m. Knitter podcast if you haven't seen her. She has a lot of great content. Please go and check her out. Some knitting stickers, so who doesn't need those for their water bottle? Also, in, I think it might have been August when I talked about knitting and walking, SRD Handmade on Instagram sent me one of her walking bags. And it's so great to just hook that over your sleeve, grab a hat, 2x2 beanie, if you will, and walk around with that. I think she might have other items available just on her Instagram. I'm not sure if she has an Etsy shop anymore. I think her and I were doing markets back in like 2017, 2018, and that's how we came across each other. And I would love to go out. She's in, I think, Fredericton area of New Brunswick. Love those New Brunswickers. All right. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And to wrap this up, because I can tell my video is getting a little grainy. This last weekend, so it was November 6th through 12th that I had off, I believe. And for 5 days, a few of us got together in Fernie at my friend Tracy's condo out there. And we knit our little hearts out. We ate. We explored the beautiful town that is Fernie. And as we do every year, we gifted one another a few things. And this year, this is the haul from this year. Tracy made this project bag with little Shiba Inus on it. And we call these knitting get-togethers Camp Braeburn. So this was Camp Braeburn 2025 Fernie edition. The previous years we've gone up to Whitehorse. Isn't that the cutest fabric you've ever seen? So well done. She hand stitched this. It's a generous size. She also gave me this from my birthday. She'd gone, and I think she got this in Seattle. I really love these tobacco tins for holding knitting things and all my implements. So that was really cool. Thank you, Tracy, for that. And then Kelsey of KZip Knits gave each of us a birthday, well, a mug, a hand-pottered mug by Heart and Solace with our birthday month flower and our name on it, which we used all weekend. So I'm May, so I'm Lily of the Valley. So thank you to Kelsey for that. She spoiled us. She also made homemade pierogies and sausage. Mennonite, if you know, it was delicious. And then Heidi joined us, and she got us each some handmade soap from the area that she lives, which is central Alberta-ish, Caroline area. This is amazing. This smell is coffee bean and patchouli. Yes, so nice. And then Brittany of Crux Fibers, who will be having one more sale, by the way. She's no longer dying, but I think she has some more stock that I know. She has some more stock that she's going to be putting up at some point here in the next little while. And just watch for that. Follow Crux Fibers. I'll link her below. Amazing human being, lives up in Whitehorse. And she brought each of us a one-of-a-kind skein of, this is Grace. That's the name of the sheep, who I think is, what did she say? Not Exmoor. I forget the breed of sheep. But how gorgeous is that? Deep coffee color. And while she was just hanging around, she whipped up a little stitch marker, a beaded stitch marker with the bee. Can you see that? Oh boy. There we go. Okay. So I'm very spoiled. And when I'm not spoiled, I spoil myself. So I just want to show you two things that I bought for me, and then I'm going to sign off. So I get the newsletter from a place called Needle in the Hay, which is a yarn shop in Sudbury, Ontario area. I would love to visit there. I think it's Sudbury. I might be wrong. Needle in the Hay. And in her newsletter, she got me because she said, well, for all of us Brooklyn Tweed Loft widows, I found something that you might like. And I was like, I'm a Brooklyn Tweed Loft widow. I'm mourning Brooklyn Tweed Loft being no longer available. So she has brought in yarn called Varus, 90 Varus, which is from Wool Dreamers. Fingering weight. And yeah, I think her name's Diane, the owner out there. And I'm pretty sure this has very similar woolen spun properties to Brooklyn Tweed. I got Cocoa and Terra. So this is Cocoa, very dark brown, and Terra. And I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking I needed to buy these, so I did. But they could be, maybe I could incorporate, instead of the Rauma, into my shift. I could try this dark cocoa. So yeah, it is 100% merino wool from Wool Dreamers. All right. Okay. So my son was just texting me. He'd like me to whip up some food for him. Okay. And I need to pack and get ready because I am off to work tomorrow. I have quite a stretch coming up, so I better wind this up. I'm flying 2 days, home for a night, back out for 2 days, and then I'm out another day, and then I have 2 days off, and then I fly straight till December. So it will be a busy time, and I hope it will be a wonderful and peaceful time of sweater weather knitting or summer knitting for you in the Southern Hemisphere. But wherever you are, I want to thank you for spending your time with me today. And I do hope to see you again soon. And as promised, I'm going to insert footage of Comox and the beautiful day that I had out there early November. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again.